Hello, lovely people. Probably you have never imagined me reviewing a head unit, but here we are. Full disclaimer, before we start to do everything, this head unit was sent to me by Atoto for a review. So this is a review sample. I didn't buy it, I didn't pay my money for it. But if you know me, you know that I don't hold back. If something is bad, I say that is bad. If something is good, I'm gonna give it genuine praise. So all of that out of the way, what is this thing? This is an Android-based head unit. And these are kind of very important because these kind of took over the normal head unit world, and they became very popular because of the extra functionality that they offer, because you can watch videos, you can stream, you can do like Android Auto and all that kind of stuff, and most of them have big screens. They look very cool, very nice, and everything else. So I am planning a few different videos that are going to include this head unit. This first one is just going to be general unboxing, kind of feature overview, and I'm going to mainly focus on how we can use this thing for sound quality, because what we're aiming for in my channel in general is everything to do with car audio and sound quality. Now the future videos is going to be distortion testing, all the functionality like EQ and everything else, how everything affects everything. So we're going to put it on an RTA, electrical RTA, and we're going to measure everything. I'm going to take it apart because why not? We're going to see what kind of amplifier it has inside and is it any good for our purpose, as I mentioned, to have it for sound quality. And finally, I'm thinking is to try to tune the whole system only using a head unit, because we know that a lot of people run only head units. They don't have a DSP, and we're going to see if the built-in functionality of this Android head unit is going to be enough to have somewhat good or pleasant sound after the final tune. Now, Atoto is a brand known by quite a few people in the SQ world just because they do offer head units that have a digital output, which is optical. However, this unit doesn't have one. Now, when I was contacted by Atoto, they kind of asked me which head unit I want, and I specifically said that I would like one that is designed for high quality sound reproduction, that has an optical out, and all the other features like screen, is it 10-inch, 9, 7, I absolutely don't care about. Because you know me, I go deep in all the like nitty gritty stuff, and I care mainly about the quality of the actual sound. Everything else is just secondary. So this is a specific model. It's like 4 gigabytes of RAM, 32 gigs of storage. That to me personally, it doesn't really matter as long as it works. They have few different classes of head units. This is the S8, which is their like top of the line, and the S8 range, they have quite a few different ones, starting from the light and going all the way standard, premium, pro, ultra, ultra plus. Now when I did my research, I noticed that only pro, ultra, and ultra plus have the optical output, and all of these don't. The light version has a slightly different sound setting page with slightly different functionalities from these, but this one, it doesn't specify anyway, but I would imagine it's something like a standard version. So again, it doesn't have the optical, it does have only the inbuilt amplifier. Now maybe Atoto is gonna send me the one with the optical, with all the higher grade stuff, because again, I'm not interested in all of this. I'm interested in the sound quality. And this unboxing and initial impressions is not gonna be like all the other ones, because like all of this stuff, to me, it doesn't matter. So I'm just gonna take it out. Yes, you have like microphones, cables, antennas, everything. It doesn't matter. I don't care about all that stuff. What I care about is how can we connect it to a DSP, or how we can connect it to the speakers, what it can do. So let me just take it out. I did play with it a little bit. So it is unwrapped because I wanted to test it. So this is the actual head unit itself. If you can see, it's very thin, there's literally nothing in there, and this is like very typical of the Android head units. If you have like an old Pioneer or something, it's gonna be like this big, much bigger, because it's a 2-DIN chassis, so it has all like internal stuff. But for Android head units, you don't need anything really. There's no CD, no nothing. So the only thing is just a PCB inside and the inbuilt amplifier. Now, I am not a head unit guy. I never had, well, I'm kind of lying, because the only head unit that I had in my car was when I first started to install like system, and I had a Pioneer something 120 BT or whatever, which I paid like £100 for it, and that was pretty much the only head unit that I have. So I cannot really compare to other head units, but to me, any kind of Android head unit, and this is exactly where they have the reputations, because they don't have a very good reputation in SQ world, because the priority of Android head units is the screen and the extra functionality, basically to add as much things into the head unit as possible. So like you have like these built-in navigation antenna, you have 4G antenna, so you can like insert the SD card. This is the SIM card slot, you have the microphone and all that kind of stuff. So basically, the more stuff you can cram into the head unit, the more premium, the more better it kind of is. But again, as I mentioned, I personally don't care about any of that stuff. So what I do care about is the output, the sound, and the quality. If we have a look at the back here, we have all of these plugs that come like this. So this is the main plug, and then you have your like the cameras, the antennas and everything, GPS, 4G, FM antenna, all that other stuff. Now you will probably notice that there is no RCAs. And again, as I mentioned to Atoto, I wanted a unit that was kind of focused on sound quality. And since they sent this one, I'm going to be reviewing this one. And this one doesn't have RCAs. The only thing that it has is it has high level outputs, which are like from here. So with these plugs, you have, I believe, 3 options. And depending on the factory integration that you want to have, you can have bare wires like this, or you can have ISO plugs with different kind of configurations. But on ISO plug, if you know, you have these 3 or 4 wires, which are like your ground, power, and ignition live. And on the other one, you have all of these speaker wires, which have the color codes exactly the same as the factory system. So you just plug and play and you can use it. So I will be using this one because I ripped everything out of my car and I don't have anything. So these do have only high level outputs. Now in the specs, they claim to have 2 volts on RCAs and 0.8 or like 1 volt on the subwoofer outputs. So 4 channels on a high levels, you're supposed to use these included high to low level converters. We know that these are probably one of the worst things if we're talking purely about sound quality. Now these converters, they're not active, they're passive things. I open one up. So they have transformers, some resistors, and here you have the gain knobs that you can adjust the level that's going out of RCAs. So they do claim to have 2 volts. We're going to test this. In the future video, as I mentioned, we're going to test everything. We're going to test the output of the inbuilt amplifier. We're going to test how these converters degrade sound, because they can only degrade sound. They cannot improve it. And we're going to see what we're getting. So using this plug and these converters, you connect them directly. You're going to have RCAs out into your DSP or an amplifier, and the 2 volt rating is kind of weird because most amplifiers these days, they have 4 volt inputs. So even with a maximum output, which will be kind of clipped because it's high level, you will still need to turn the gains on the amplifiers halfway up, or whatever people say. Sound quality wise, I don't really have high hopes. I know that it's not going to be as good as potentially other options. And let's talk about other options and price and everything else. Why would you want this? So this head unit cost £300, which in dollars, I don't know how, it's like 350, 360, something like that. And for that, you are getting a 7-inch screen, you're getting a built-in amplifier, which according to the power ratings, we can have a look here in the manual, this. So it says that it has 4 times 45 watts, which we know that it's nonsense because no head unit with a built-in amplifier can reproduce that sound, because they use 12 volts as rail, and with only that much voltage they can have only about like 12 to 15 watts clean power. But again, we will be testing this, we will be measuring. So it says what, a 25 watts RMS at 10% THD. which is weird because everybody's testing 1% HD, but this is 10%, probably just to have the bigger numbers. I don't know, we'll see. And depending on the chip inside, for selected models, it goes down to 2 ohm load, which is not very interesting for us because most of our speakers are 4 ohms. Now, if we go to the next page, right here, we can see 4 RCAs, 2 volts out, and subwoofer 1 volt out. Okay, we're gonna measure that and we're gonna see. Another thing that it was very interesting to me is the Bluetooth connection, because we know that Bluetooth signal from typical head units is very, very poor and not quite good. So the higher end models, I believe the Pro or Ultra or whatever, they do have support for aptX HD. However, this unit does not. So if we have a look at the specs, it has kind of 2 Bluetooth chips. One Bluetooth chip is used for like very poor connections. So for example, if you want to add an ODB scanner to the car and just to view the data on the screen. And the second one is supposed to be a better one. So here you can see that the Bluetooth one supports SBC, and selected models, which are the higher end ones, aptX and aptX HD. So unfortunately, this is like top of the range model, but lower class. So it doesn't have aptX HD, it doesn't have aptX, it has only the SBC, and it has only high level outputs with no RCAs, and it doesn't have any optical. So if in the future Ototo will send me the top of the range model that has all those features that we actually seek, and basically this is the only reason why SQ people are buying these head units, just to have a very high quality sound source. But obviously this specific unit is not really designed to have high quality sound. It is designed for basically entertainment purposes and for easy connectivity. So it does support all those kind of Android Auto and wireless and wired and all that kind of stuff, built-in maps. You can have all the Android apps in the head units and everything. But again, as I mentioned, that for us is not important. Now, if we go to the DSP section, which is here, these head units have basic DSP functionality, and according to the specs, these functionalities are exactly the same as you would have in any kind of modern head unit, such as like Pioneer or Kenwood or whatever, which offers 32 bands of EQ. And by the looks, we have the frequencies. So it's not parametric EQ, it's graphical EQ, and it's plus minus 10 or plus minus 12 dB depending on the models. The only kind of good thing is that you have this 32 bands split on different versions 36 bands. It's basically split half and half, and you have half of the EQ for the front channels and half of the EQ for the rear channels. So it will be interesting to see how we can tune kind of the system with this, because what I'm thinking for a tune, what you can do, because we need only left and right stereo for stereo signal, so we can use front left channel for one speaker and rear right channel for the other speaker, and that way we can adjust independent EQ for both sides instead of having only for the front. You cannot have good results if you're adjusting EQ, same EQ on both left and right channels, because we know that left and right requires different equalization. But with all of these functions, we're going to dive deep into the next video when I'm going to be measuring it, and we're going to actually see what does EQ do, where is it clip, if boosting clips and everything. It has some like other functions, like here you have time correction, so you can do time alignment. However, that time alignment is up to 8 milliseconds. For most systems, it's going to be perfectly fine because you're not going to be adjusting phase. Because in my particular system, if I want to adjust my rear subwoofer phase, I need to apply like 7 milliseconds to the whole front end. But this is going to be probably fine. Then you have like stereo enhancement, whatever that is. We're going to check it actually with RTA measurements. We're going to see what it actually does. Then you have bass boost on the front channels. You have subwoofer boost, which is, I believe, not actual boost, but just crossovers and gain of the subwoofer channel. And crossovers. So for different models, there's different crossover functionalities. The light version has a high pass and a low pass. However, this version is kind of limited and it has only a high pass filters for your fronts. So that's again kind of a bit disappointing, because I thought if we're gonna have a band pass channel, maybe we can put like tweeters on it and run tweeters from the front, or wide bands from the front and mid bass from the rear channels. But again, this looks to me as a very basic model with very limited functionality in regards to the sound settings that we can do. And then you have like loudness function. We're gonna check what the loudness function does as well, and some other stuff. So if you wanted to see the actual Android functionality of this head unit, please feel free to watch other videos, because there's plenty of them. If you enter Atoto in YouTube, you're gonna find plenty of videos that shows all the settings and everything, all like Android Auto functions and all the pretty little things, how you can watch YouTube or use maps or whatever. In this channel, as I mentioned, we're focusing on sound quality, on tuning, and is this head unit going to be good enough to have quality results with a basic system. Now, one thing that kind of surprises me, but it kind of surprises me and it doesn't at the same time, because this unit runs Android 10 and it has the processor, which is named somewhere in the manual, whatever. And the processor and the operating system is 4 years old. So if we're talking about head units, it's probably okay. But if we're talking about tablets, it's a very old tablet, because these Android head units is nothing more than a glorified tablet or tablet on steroids that has extra functionality. So if you have a tablet that is a 4-year-old, the operating system, especially if you're going to plan to use it properly, if you're gonna log in into your Google account and you're gonna use apps and everything, it might not be as safe, because I did check in the settings. You have the ROM model and the date is dated at 2019, so it is quite old operating system. However, it does work fine. I did tested it, I did check it, it does work fine. It's snappy as hell, just because it has 4 gigs of RAM, like I think it's an octa-core, 1.8 gigahertz, and the screen resolution is small. It's like 1200 by 600 or something. So to run that small screen, it's plenty enough. It's very snappy. The screen is nice. We're gonna check it in the future videos as well. When I'm gonna show you the actual functionality. But the most important thing and the most important question that we're gonna try to answer is, if you are aiming for sound quality, is it worth to buy something like this, which costs £300, or you would be better off with a branded head unit from known brands such as like Sony, Kenwood, Pioneer, and all the other stuff. And this is exactly what we're gonna try to answer in my future videos. Don't have very high expectations, because there's no RCAs out. There is just the built-in amplifier. We will need to use these if we want a low-level signal. And the tuning functionality with a built-in DSP, it's exactly the same like in any other head unit, and it's very limited if you want a proper tune. Now, I did watch quite a few other videos because I wanted to see what other people say about this head unit, and obviously everybody's saying that it's amazing. The sound quality is great. You can have EQ, you have the presets, you can press on jazz, on rock, and like this or that. But we know that those presets don't mean much when we're dealing with fully active DSP run systems. But even if I am kind of skeptical, I still would like to thank Atoto for sending me this unit, because I will be doing in-depth measurements and testing and everything with it, and it's going to be a very good learning experience. So for people who bought this basic head unit, you will know the best way possible to achieve SQ in the car, how to tune a car using only the head unit and nothing else. If you don't have a DSP and you want to achieve good results, I'm going to show you how to do that. For all the technical minded people, we're going to open this thing up. We're going to see what's inside. We're going to see the distortion performance and everything. And for the people that want to buy the high-end version with optical output, well, let's hope Atoto is going to send me that unit as well. For this one, is pretty much it. Stay tuned for the next videos, and thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.